Hi, it's me, Ingridine P. And I'm sitting by the library, but the library is closed because it's summer and they have really short opening hours. Anyway, I went and saw my old supervisor, a colleague from before, and she knows about the people I work with, but also some of my patients. So I could kind of give her an update, and she trusts me, and she gives me confidence. Like I get the external validation that I need. But sometimes you need it because it's like I'm surrounded by people that I don't trust at my workplace. There's some people that I do, but at the moment, there are two specialist colleagues, and I don't trust either of them. And so I'm actually the most senior of the junior doctors. So it's like people come to me to ask questions, and it's like, no, I don't know. I don't know. So sometimes the specialist doctors will leave, and I will be the only. I'll be like the top here. I'm the top of my healthcare center, which is a little bit scary. But usually the specialists are there the whole time, so there's always somebody there. That's above me, I guess. But it is stressful because I'm the only person who can deal with my own patients, but sometimes I'm also the only person who can deal with other people's patients. My ESFP colleague is around the same seniority level as me, so she can also help out. But otherwise, I have a hard time. But so yeah, my supervisor is doing good at her healthcare center, and it's really sunny outside and actually a good day. It's like 21 degrees or something, like perfect weather. I'm wearing shorts and the cherries are blooming around me, so there are a lot of birds out in the trees that are picking at all of the cherries. Let's see if I can show you. Here are all of the cherries. Like there are quite a few up there. So here are a lot of cherries. They're not ripe yet, but you can see, like, wow, tons up there and tons down here. But there's a tree further away that has like ripe cherries. Anyway, I also got raspberries, and the blueberries are really big this year. They are really juicy. And I also had some wild strawberries. So I think that, it's nice to feel like, oh, summer has finally come. I know that a lot of you guys have been having really a hard time with the heat, but here in Sweden, it's like, it hasn't been hot, So there are very few days where I actually feel like I can walk around in shorts and a t-shirt. So anyway, I did want to talk a little bit deeper about what I talked about in therapy, because I feel like I didn't process it enough in my video about my ESFP colleague and my night out with her. First of all, I do have a hard time with decisions, so that's where it all started, where it's like, I have a hard time with decisions. Somehow I reach some kind of decision fatigue, I think, because at my work, I'm making decisions all the time. And it was my mentor during medical school who said that being a doctor involves making 10,000 decisions a day. And it's one of the jobs that requires the most decisions that you have to take on your own. And yeah, that's true. It's a lot of decisions. And I actually had a nurse colleague when I was working at the weekend emergencies. She's only worked with me a few months, a few months. And she said, oh, I never feel any trouble working with you because you always make decisions and then you stick to them. And I was like, okay. I feel like I'm always indecisive, never making decisions. I don't feel content and satisfied with that I've made a good decision and that I can, it came with time that I get I'm more confident in my decisions as a doctor now, but I also get more questions, because the more I know, the less I know, and so I'm like, oh, sorry, if it's raining cherries on me, I'm not going to be having a good time. Okay, there are some magpies up there. Anyway, so, okay, it's raining cherries. So what happens is that I get decision fatigue when I come back home, because like I've done my decision quota for the day, I can't do more. And it's like, I don't know, in the morning when I go to work, oh, there are some ducks over there. When I go to work, I do not know what clothes to put on, it's just like, it's too many decisions, because like, and each decision requires more decisions, like, okay, if I'm going to wear shorts today, which socks can I wear with the shoes? And it's like, the short socks or the long socks? Do I want to be a millennial or do I want to be a Gen Z? What? And then like every decision after that is just like, yeah, but okay, so if I have the long socks, then I need to change my shirt. And it's like, I have no sense of style, so I don't know what's going on. And so it's so many decisions, everything, every day, all the time. And sometimes I wish that somebody could make the decisions for me, but I'm an adult, so I need to make these decisions, and it's a freedom that I get the choice to do these things. But I always feel a sense of stress of having to make all these decisions, so it's really hard. So, and there are certain choices that I agonize over months, years, like cutting my hair. I haven't done that in a year, but every time I cut my hair, it's like I've been pondering this, agonizing over this for years. When I have to, buying a bike, I have agonized about that for years. Buying headphones, I've agonized about this for more than a year. Now these headphones are like more than 10 years old and they're falling apart. I've already rebought like cushions to these, but the cushions have already broken, but that's because they weren't from Bose, they were like from some other company. But yeah, these barely lasted a few months. And yeah, they work, but they're not noise cancelling, and they have this long thread. So they're good, but also this part is like, the black part is peeling off. So I need to change headphones. I can't bring these with me. I mean, they're not going to last so much longer, I don't think. They're good quality, but I want something else. And yeah, it just takes me such a long time because I can't decide. And there are many things that go into that. It's, my parents hoarding. My mom would buy a lot of things and then they would accumulate, but my dad would keep all the things. And I'm very close to how my dad operates, because I think that we have a similar neurodivergence, let's just say, in that he will keep things forever and save things and he's very stressed about losing money. Like he hoards money. That's what he hoards. My mom hoards all these objects, but my dad hoards money, and he's not very generous with his money, and it's just, yeah, it's unhealthy. But I've inherited that somehow, and it's really hard for me to spend any money and buy things, even things that I desperately need, and even things that are so silly, and that don't even cost much. But of course, it's more stressful for me when it's big things that cost a lot. So, and I agonize. I look at all the websites, I overanalyze, and then I don't make the decision. And then many times the sales have gone long ago before I make a decision, and sometimes you have to make decisions when the sale is there. And yeah, I can't do it. and it's really hard. And it destroys my life. So there's that whole thing. And then my supervisor, no, my psychologist was like, but why do you need to know about the future in order to make decisions? And I was like, yeah, well, I need to have a vision a little bit about like where I'm going in order to know what I'm in for, I guess. But I mean, yeah, most people make decisions without having a vision of the future. I don't know what it is, if it's the intuitiveness or if it's the autism or what it is about my brain that makes it so hard for me to make a decision without like, having to go all existential about it, you know? Okay, sorry about the raining cherries. It just keeps bonking onto this wooden table. But so it's really hard for me. Oh, the ducks have come. Okay, so there are the ducks. They're just eating all of the cherries. Oh, there's another one. They're eating everything that's fallen to the ground. So it's the circle of life. Okay, the cue to Van der Piet's song about there's nothing wrong with filming ducks. There's nothing wrong with filming ducks. Nothing wrong with filming ducks. Okay. Nothing wrong with filming ducks. Okay. And now we've got, they're still around. Anyway, there are all sorts of weird animals in Australia. I just keep finding things on my feed and sending them to Van der Piet. I don't know. Maybe I should go to Australia and see all of those weird animals, especially the weird birds. But I hope that I don't get pecked by a bird over there. They seem to have that problem over there. That's apparently birds keep pecking people in Australia. Like, they have the swooping season where apparently birds swoop into you and peck you. It's like, what an existence, what a life to lead, you know? Here I am complaining about things that's like, I live in a world where my birds don't come and peck me. My mom has developed a fear of crows due to the Hitchcock film The Birds. So yeah, I get it. Anyway, so I have a hard time with decisions, but why do I need to have a vision of the future? I don't know. I haven't figured that one out yet. But yeah, I don't know. It feels very difficult for me. I guess as an autistic person, I have a hard time dealing with the uncertainty of the future, with change. At the same time, I know that change is inevitable and that things are going to, I don't know, somehow I feel like I understand that better than some people. And yet, it is so hard for me to, I guess that it's also because it's hard for me to see into the future what consequences my actions will bring onto the future, because everything is so uncertain. So like, it's hard when everything is so unstable. I don't know. It seems like other people have an easier time knowing these things. Or maybe they just make decisions and they don't care about the consequences of their decisions. I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the ducks. They're really fast in eating the cherries here. Here are the ducks hard at work. Okay. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. I wished I knew the answers to these things, because that's what we were supposed to be talking about in therapy. Then we started veering away into relationships, because it's hard for me to make decisions for myself without thinking that there's going to be another person around. You know, I guess that also, like, I was so controlled by my parents for such a long time And it's not like they were bad towards me, or uh, like overly controlling, but somehow I think that I had this sense that I can't manage on my own. Like I had this sense that something is wrong with me. I can't manage in the world in the way that other people can. I have these difficulties with things that other people don't seem to have. I didn't know it was autism, but I just knew that something was hard and that was going to need I was going to need help from other people. And so I relied on my parents for that help, because I felt like there's no way that I'm going to be financially stable or just emotionally stable or anything. And so I felt like, so I could rely on my parents for their financial support, at least during my medical school years. But then, once that, I have the luck that I have parents that can financially help me in case of me being in an emergency of things going really wrong. They are also there for emotional support, but they don't really get it, so it's hard to lean on them for that. They don't really get my life. And then, when it comes to, just, so I just have relied so much on them and done whatever they wanted for me, because I didn't know really what I wanted for myself, so I just did what they did. And so now when it's time for me to make my own decisions, it's really hard. And I've done a good job until now, I've blossomed in some sense, where I've managed to decide where I'm working, where I'm living. Making all these big decisions, and I decide things every day. That's what we all do. We all have to decide things every day. But it's tough, because I am so indecisive all the time, and it leads to so much extra stress. When the social workers they've come twice now, I've decided what task we focus on. But I realized that when something goes wrong, like my Hoover was not working, my vacuum cleaner was not working, then I suddenly felt like a blockage, like I kept deciding anything, what am I going to do now? I'm lost. And yeah, and then it was I needed that person there to be saying oh, well, we could try this if you want, or we could do this. But it's when there's nobody there to, help me out of that stuckness that I'm always feeling, it really is hard. And at the same time, I have a really hard time when other people are deciding things for me, because I have then I have people disrupting my routine and disrupting my plans. And there's also the PDA, the demand avoidance. I have a hard time if somebody demands something of me. So it's I'm in an impossible situation where it's I don't want people to decide for me, but I can't decide. And so nothing gets decided on. And yeah, I wished I were stronger in that I went and followed my convictions, that I did what felt right. And yes, I made good decisions that were planned and analyzed and stuff, but not overly thought out to the point of suffering, and I don't know how to get out of that. I don't know. So I hope that somebody has gone through a similar thing. I guess that it's hard to give advice about how to make decisions You know, like, yes, I've written pros and cons list, but it's like I still can't make the final decision. So sometimes I made final decisions with like the thoughts that, okay, I can always return it if I don't like it, that kind of thing. But then there's a risk that I will not be happy with the decision and not return it, and then feel really guilty and sad, or that I buy it just to return it, pretty much. Like I feel bad for that too. and sometimes I've made decisions and I've said I can't go back on this decision once I've made it, you know? And it's like I have to decide now, today, because otherwise it's not going to be ever done, you know? Yeah, you know, I wish that I were, and, you know, the times that I've made decisions is that I was kind of in a state of flow where I was like, okay, I'm in the mood, but I can't count on that mood. I can't count on the fact that I'm going to feel that way anytime in the near future. And then even if I'm in the mood, there's sometimes it will be something that will like come into my tracks and then will destroy the whole thing. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try to buy those headphones. I also have to decide like on a present for a wedding. Please tell me it's a girl from my high school that's getting married. It's my first wedding ever. I don't know. In this case, I think that having your advice might actually help me make a decision, because I don't know what people want for their weddings. I don't know. Do people just ask for money? And then in that case, like, how much money do you give at that wedding? I'd be interested. Also, if anybody has any suggestions of headphones that are noise cancelling and comfortable and that are not way over expensive, and by way over expensive I mean like over $200 basically. I want it to be, well, you know, kind of 150 is like my kind of a soft limit, but it's a limit. And then 200 is really strong limit. Like I'm not going to buy something for more than that. But so in the $70 to $150 range is kind of where I'm at. I've been looking at older models, but are still good, like the Sony XM3, I think. The XM4 is way better apparently, but I don't need that necessarily. I also have been looking at the JBL Live 770 or 775. I've been looking at One More Sonoflow. I've been looking at JBL Tune as well, but they're not as good as a Live. And yeah, I've also been looking at the Soundcore something. I forgot. Soundcore Ace, I think. So yeah, I'm just throwing out these ideas. I've looked at so many others. I've looked at Sennheiser. I've looked at Bose. I've looked at, yeah. So yeah, if any of you guys know anything about headphones, I'll gladly hear your thoughts. It won't make me make a decision, but I will look into it at least. So yeah, have a good day, everybody. Bye.